Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
And welcome back to the final episode of Prospects Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. We are a couple days away from the World Juniors beginning, and it's amazing that it's finally here. Christmas is here. Christmas is just a days away as well. So exciting times ahead. So for hockey fans, for everyone here at the Hockey Writers, and we're excited to get going with this last episode, which will feature the big two, Canada and the US. Arguably the big two. I mean, some people might say Sweden is in there, but I'd say Canada, US is probably the biggest draws in this tournament for a lot of people. So we're going to talk about these two big guys, powers that have gone back years. US had just won. They won the under 18 tournament just this past time. So they're going to be riding high on a few players that they just won gold medals. So last junior tournament, they didn't. But Canada won that. So this is going to be an interesting battle here. See if they both are going to be in the gold medal game. We'll have our predictions later on in the show as well. But again, joined in by Peter Baracchini and Greg Boysen. How you get both to doing just before Christmas here?
We're surviving. We're staying safe, and we can't wait for this tournament to get off the ground. I know that.
That's all that we can ask for at this point right now.
Yeah, hopefully COVID doesn't rear its ugly head throughout this time and screw up the games. But as it is right now, it's going forward at full capacity for fans as well, unless something changes. But for now, we'll see how that goes. Let's start with the big one that a lot of us cover. A lot of the Canadian teams. I cover the Canucks. Peter with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Canada's big. We talk about Canada a lot. Team Canada, we'll start with them. We'll get to the US later on, Greg, so you'll get your time as well.
Saving the best for
last. But arguably Canada is the favorite going into this tournament. Lots of great names. They did leave some guys behind, which we'll talk about a little bit. Let's start with the forwards here. They're big. They got some great names on it. Starting with, we could highlight a lot of names, but headlining them, you got Connor Bedard, you got just amongst them, Dylan Guenther, Connor Bedard, Kent Johnson, Mason McTavish. The list goes on. Peter, we'll start with that on this one. This one here, forwards. Connor Bedard is going to make his World Juniors debut. He's going to argue the top pick coming, not next year, but the year after. Is this the tournament that he's going to show, I'm the number one next, in the 2023 draft. I am here, generational player. He's going to outshine everyone else, or is he just going to kind of, be in the background?
Well, it's going to be Bedard versus Michkov round 2, considering that we were all treated to that awesome U18 tournament where they both went head to head. Ultimately, Connor Bedard coming out on top with the gold medal. But Michkov leading the tournament in points with 12 goals. Bedard, 14 points. It's. I want to say that we're gonna like I said before, we're gonna get a real treat right now. But yeah, this is gonna be Connor Bedard's showcase, saying that, hey, you know what? If Matvei Michkov is probably gonna go first overall, I got something to say otherwise, because despite him being a smaller player. I believe he's only 5'8", 5'9". He is a dynamic, skilled centerman. There's no other way around it. His puck sense, his shot, his awareness, his hands. He's the full package and everything that you want. And despite that, everyone looks to a 6-foot-tall centerman for up the middle. Connor Bedard does not falter in that position regardless. He plays the position extremely well. point per game player with the Regina passes here, and he made it extremely difficult for Hockey Canada to say, hey, we cannot leave this guy off the roster. He is every bit as impressive as we thought he was. I mean, during the camp, in 2 games, he had 6 points, and ultimately that sealed his spot on the roster. I mean, he's probably coming in as a 13th forward. I mean, but at the same time, you have to think that he would play his way up the lineup, and maybe someone else that's kind of going to be used in a depth role is going to sort of find themselves in Bedard's spot previously, because his skill set, his attitude, his work ethic, it all screams either middle 6 or top 6 potential right now. But yeah, this is a player that I'm extremely excited to see. I know he's going to have a very strong tournament. Nothing phases him. I mean, again, 15-year-old in an 18-year-old tournament, going to be 16 years old this time around in a 19-year-old tournament. He's just going to be lights out good. And like I said, Mishkov for Russia, Bedard for Canada, we're going to be getting a really great treat to watch, despite the fact that we're still overlooking kind of Shane Wright right now, who's going to be the top draft pick this year. But yeah, no, I mean, Connor Bedard is, gaining notoriety and deservedly so right now. So yeah, he is definitely going to be a key factor for Canada. Maybe not at the moment at the start, but he will eventually work his way up for sure.
Yeah. I mean, forgot about Shane Wright there. I mean, he's going to be the leader on this team. Could be captain. We'll see. But I mean, there are a couple other names. Greg, voting on this question here. Mason McTavish was sent back from the Anaheim Ducks. Jake Neighbours sent back from the St. Louis Blues to junior. They're both in this tournament. Are they going to make a huge impact on this? There was a chance that they may not have been here. Will they make a big difference? I mean, this team is loaded. I mean, but will they tip the scales either way?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Canada and all you guys up there are thrilled that both of those guys are back. I mean, you guys have an embarrassment of riches up there. I mean, it's no different from any other year. You got your pick of, the elite of the elite, but getting those 2 guys back, having them go to junior so they could play, that obviously is huge. Both, they both got a little bit of NHL experience and played well, and that's gonna be huge. The experience is so big at this tournament. So those are guys that have been through this before. They've been through, the regimen of preparing for an NHL game and playing at a high level in an NHL game, and bringing that to this tournament. It's something that shouldn't be overlooked. A lot of these games are going to be decided. I know I'm going to sound extra coachy here, but they're going to be decided before the puck's even dropped. It's how you prepare. It's how you get yourself ready to play in these games, especially those early games where there's not a lot of chemistry formed just yet. So getting in that right mindset and preparing yourself to play. And those guys learned at the highest level, playing with some of the greatest players in the world, how to do that. And if they can bring that kind of mentality to this Canadian team, is going to make a really good team even that much better. So for sure. I mean, it's not only what they can bring on the ice. They're both highly productive, highly skilled players that nobody's going to want to match up against. But then they can bring that little bit of NHL experience to this roster, and that could be something that puts them over the top.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many names we can talk about on this roster. Dylan Guenther and Jake Neighbours, they're teammates on in junior here. They're probably playing a line together as well. I mean, Dylan Guenther's been lights out in junior too, and they've been great. So let's do a quick fire before we get to the defense here. Is there a dark horse, kind of an under the radar guy on this forward group that could potentially just come out of nowhere and be the main guy? Because there is a lot of guys on here that could do that. What do you think, Peter? Do you think there's an under the radar they're all stars in their leagues, but is there someone that's just going to, come out of nowhere here? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at 2 specifically. I'm looking at Xavier Bourgault from the Edmonton Oilers and Ridley Gregg of the Ottawa Senators, mainly because of the fact that Bourgault has that two-way mentality. He's skilled, but he's also very smart. He has the awareness, the vision, and he just reads a play exceptionally well. And that just shows the mindset of what Team Canada was going for, which is why they left off names like Brennan Othman, although I disagree with that up front. But yeah, Xavier Bourgault, he has that two-way mindset. And really, Greg is just one of those players that you want on your team, but you absolutely hate to play against because of his tenacity, his work ethic, he's basically every single time he's out on a shift, he's always like a, shot out of a cannon. He's always on the go. He's always quick. He's always aggressive. He's always getting in on the forecheck. And that's the kind of play that's going to make good teams even better in this short tournament. Those are the factors that are going to come down to where if you need someone else to step up other than your offensively driven guys, you have someone like Bourgault who has the awareness and the vision to be a game changer. You have Greg to go in and set up a forecheck and set up an attack. So I think those two guys are going to be really great key under the radar picks or players for Team Canada in this year's tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. Greg, you have someone you're kind of looking at that could be an under the radar player for this team.
Man, when you look at those names, it's hard to use the term under the radar.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all big name. I mean, is Kent Johnson an under the radar guy? I mean, on this team, maybe. It just shows you how deep they are. But a guy I'm looking forward to watching, and is not a guy that, we mentioned all these names and all these top picks. It's Logan Stankoven. I'm a big fan of him. He somehow fell to the second round of the Dallas Stars. He was a guy I really wanted the Blackhawks to take with that 31st pick last year. He's the type of player that can make a difference. He's going to be playing center, which is such a key position, especially in this tournament. But he's that guy that's just constantly playing a north-south game. His motor's always going. He's fearless when driving to the net. And as we know from watching this tournament, it's those goals off a shin pad or rebound or fighting for puck position. Those are the ones that can make all the difference in the world, especially when we get to the medal round. And he's the type of guy that can score that dirty, greasy goal that wins you a game late in regulation. He's just always plays at an unrelenting pace. It's going to be so hard to defend, especially if he's playing. I'm not exactly sure where he's setting up in this lineup right now, but if he's playing, against a team's second, third defensive pairing in their bottom six, he can get fat in a hurry. He can rack up some numbers because you're focused so much on stopping some of these guys like a Shane Wright and Connor Bedard, all these guys we've talked about. And then here comes Logan Stankoven, who doesn't stop skating for a second, and he can just be a beast. So that's a guy I'm looking forward to, especially on how he matches up within a game. If he gets to play against some bottom six, he can do some serious damage for them.
Yeah. My guy I'm looking at is Elliot Desnoyers, Halifax Mooseheads captain. This is a guy I thought was surprising to see him on the roster. I mean, I didn't really have him on my radar much. I mean, he's a 5th round pick of the Philadelphia Flyers, but he's that type Dawson Mercer type player that he does a whole bunch of stuff, and he could be that Swiss, has been called a Swiss Army knife in the past. So he can do a lot of things, and on a team that needs, could need some intangibles, that we'll see how much minutes he gets and how much play he does have, because there's a lot of, like we said, there's a lot of talent on this roster. But I can see him being a guy that could fly under the radar and be that, he'll probably kill penalties. He'll probably be a guy that will just do a lot of things for this team. As a 5th round pick, I think that's under the radar because a lot of these guys that are on this team are 1st round, 2nd round picks. So, I mean, to have a guy, have him on this roster at where he was drafted, I think is a testament to what he's done this year for the Mooseheads. And, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what he can do. Kind of an interesting name that I saw as a final roster, especially with some guys that were left at home, like you said, Peter. So this is a team that just needs a lot of different pieces to work, and we'll see how the forwards do, because they got a lot of firepower. Let's go to the defense. I mean, we've talked in the past a lot about this defense core. Greg, we'll go to you on this guy. Is this Owen Power's tournament?
It's Power. I mean, he's the guy. It's first overall pick. He's going to be the guy that's going to play all the key moments. He's going to be, top pairing. He's going to be power play. He's going to be doing, he'll be out there killing penalties. He's got the size. He's got the physical play. He's got the offensive ability. He can skate. He's the total package. He's the number one overall pick for a reason. And he's not. He's shown this year at University of Michigan that he is every bit that. He's living up to the hype. So, and when you look at the rest of this defensive, I mean, they've got a total of 5 first-round picks playing defense. Yeah. So while a guy like Lambos, would be the top defender on any other team in this tournament, most likely, there's a chance he could be, playing third pair minutes here. There's just so much talent. But Power is going to be that guy from the drop of the puck of the opening game of the tournament that's going to be their number one defenseman. I don't think anybody takes that away from him. So it's Power's team as far as that defensive goes. And then that's saying a lot when you look at the names that's also back there. But, we talked in earlier episodes about players that may have some pressure on them. There's definitely going to be some pressure on Owen Power here, being the number one overall pick, a team that's, gold or bust this year. They had the disappointment of last year's team that was stacked, and now they got another stacked team. So, there's pressure on him and this team. And thankfully for him, if he has a bad game, there's plenty of talent to pick him up. But I don't see anybody surpassing him as the number one D man on this team.
This defense is going to be, they're going to be a strong part of this team. I think forwards are going to be the biggest reason they'll win, but win a lot of these games. But the defense definitely has that power there. So I think Peter, we'll go to you just quickly here. Is there a name on this roster that could, other than Carson Lambos, that could potentially be a really important player for this team other than Power? We know Power is going to be important, but is there someone else that's going to kind of come in and be kind of an under the radar guy that, be a reason why they win?
Because I was gonna say Olen Zellweger, but obviously he's not really under the radar. We know what's expected of him. I mean, I'm a big fan of his, but I'm gonna say Ryan O'Rourke, from same system as Carson Lambos, Minnesota Wild, second round pick from the previous year in 2020. This is a guy that he's a prototypical two-way defenseman, but he's very tenacious, very in your face, very aggressive. That I think that if you need someone in a shutdown role, Ryan O'Rourke is going to be your guy. He's 6'1", 179 pounds. Don't let he may not be 200 pounds, but he's still got the strength, got the size, got the balance to try and shut players down. Definitely offensive production may not be relied on heavily, considering that you do have Power. You do have Cooley to try and lead the way this time, Zellweger up front. But, Ryan O'Rourke in a shutdown role, I think he's going to be very, very key because he's got the smarts, he's got the positioning, and he was someone that I was very high on in the 2020 draft that, he was a second round pick, and I was hoping that the Maple Leafs would draft him. That again, I want the Maple Leafs to draft everybody. I know everyone's going to say that, but I love him because of his defensive awareness and something that, that any team is going to benefit from. The Wild are going to benefit from it, and certainly Team Canada is going to benefit from his play style. So I think he's going to be very under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, this goaltending, Sebastian Cossa is the guy in net. I mean, they got Dylan Garand, who was named to the roster as well. He backed up Devin Levi last tournament. Levi kind of came out of nowhere, became that starter. I don't think that'll happen this time. There's going to be a guy who's just going to kind of usurp, because I don't think there was a straight number one last year that everyone's saying, well, yeah, he's the guy. I think Kossa's the man in this one. I mean, you never know what'll happen, but I mean, Garand's got some great numbers in junior, but I mean, Cossa has the name recognition. He's got the ability to take over a game. He's got that great numbers in junior. He's kind of fallen a bit. I mean, his recent plays been really good. 2.26 GAA, 924 save percentage. He's got the numbers to back that up. I think he's the leader in net. He may not have to make a ton of saves. A lot of the time, the goaltender for Canada, unless is playing against Canada, Sweden, those are the teams that kind of actually get chances. But I think for the most part, he's not going to be bombarded. He's not going to be a 40 shots. He's not going to have to be lights out every game, but he's got the talent to be that too. So, I mean, if he has to, I think he can be, be a superstar goaltender for Canada. But we've seen in the past, Canada doesn't need superstars to win. I mean, in net, I mean, they won with Jeff Glass, nothing against him. But he's not a top end goaltender, and he had, I don't know how many shutouts he had in that tournament when he played, because I think he had like 10, 15 shots on goal. So, I mean, you're really not tested, but if Cossa is tested, I think he can handle it. He's going to be a leader back there in the crease. And again, a Detroit Red Wings prospect, massive goaltender, great athleticism. I mean, he's, looking on Twitter, he kind of got off the frame because it's so tall. But he's going to be fun to watch in net, and a really big future for the Detroit Red Wings there. So that's a goaltender for Canada. I think that's not the biggest thing they need. Defense and goaltender, I think, are secondary. I think it's the forwards that are going to win this tournament for them. But there's going to be teams that could surprise. We'll get to this one who, didn't win last tournament. They won the under 18s over Canada as well. So they're coming in on a high. They got a gold medal. A few of these guys have gold medals around their necks from that tournament. Let's start with the forwards. Greg, we'll start with you on the forwards here. Who do you have an eye on this roster that could potentially be? They got some great names as well. They don't have the Trevor Zegrases of the world this time. He's starring for the Anaheim Ducks. So, I mean, they don't have them, but they do have Matt Beniers. We've talked about him in the past. He's going to be headlining. They had a line, which I want to ask you about this line that they had showcased in their pre-tournament stuff here, of Brett Berard, Matty Beniers, and my guy, Matthew Coronato. How much are you excited to watch this line? I mean, there's a few other names on this roster, but do you think this line has a lot of potential to dominate a tournament here?
Well, that's going to be the line that's going to be key to their success. We've talked a lot about, a team hasn't repeated gold medal winners. It's been a long time since that's happened. Zegras was a huge reason why they won last year. That performance in that tournament last year was one for the ages, no doubt about that. Pretty much a complete overhaul with that forward group. Beniers is the guy. The Team USA will go as he goes, but that line could be fun. You look at those three guys with Berard and Beniers centering that, and Coronato, who I'd like to say is our guy, Matthew. I'm a big fan of his, watching him play with the Chicago Steel, where he broke records last year. It's fun when you look at those three guys and their stats right now. All three of them have the exact same amount. Like they're all 50-50. They have the same amount of goals and assists. So they're both passers. They're both shooters. So it may be a thing where somebody has to get a little more selfish on this line. Somebody's got to score the goals. You just can't keep passing to each other. But they're definitely got some excitement there. Coronato is a very exciting player, shifty skater, has great vision. This might be a type of a line where all Beniers has to do is get to the front of the net and let pucks hit him or get those rebounds. With those guys on his left and right. One of those wingers is going to have to step up and be the selfish guy and decide, I'm going to be the guy that takes the shots. They have three guys that can both score, but they have three guys that also like to help their teammates score. So, it's okay to be selfish in this role, but that's the top line for the Americans. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they've got a lot of really good players. They got a lot of skill. They got a lot of grit and kind of grinder guys on the bottom half of their roster, but it's that top line. If that top line succeeds, then they're back in the middle round again. If that top line falters, they're going to struggle a bit until they get some of that secondary scoring going.
Yeah, I misspoke. U.S. won the gold medal last World Juniors. Not Canada won the under 18. So I'm mixing up two tournaments there. Fact check. Yeah, that line's going to be really amazing to watch. Peter, we'll go to you on this one. You've been knee deep in the draft coverage already with your rankings coming out. Let's talk about Logan Cooley. I mean, he's made this roster as a very young player. He's really, I talked about him on Howlers and Growlers with the Tankathon thing, and he's could be a number 2 pick, 3, in that top 5. Very good all around player. Do you think he's got a chance to be that Matty Beniers of this tournament? Not be expected to do much, but be a factor.
Yeah, maybe not expected to do much, but the play style and the way that he takes the game is very similar to that of Matty Beniers. Strong two-way forward, great awareness, great hands, great speed. He just sees the game. He's always like, what are 2 steps ahead of his opposition? And he always knows what's going to happen next. So he thinks it out very well. And I think his smarts is going to be what separates him from being, an underachiever or an overachiever on the Team USA team. And I think he's going to be a really great overachiever considering the fact that he has that going for him. And like you mentioned, this is a prospect that, out of everyone on the USA national development team, Rucker McGroarty, Frank Nazar, Isaac Howard, Jimmy Snuggerud, he's the only one to come from that program and make this team. And given the fact that they have quite an abundance of NHL drafted talent, it doesn't surprise me that he was at the top of the list. And yeah, he is in that run to be in that 2 to 5 range. There was talks about him being a top 10 pick. I think that's just going to be blown out the window, because if he has a strong tournament, production may not be there, but if he displays the work ethic and the skill that he always displays on ice, it's going to go well for him, and it's going to justify him being in that top 5 spot. So yeah, Logan Cooley was really happy to see his name on there, and I'm expecting big things from him in this tournament. Again, not production wise, but overall presence is what I'm thinking from him. Yeah,
for sure. I've now watching. I watched a bunch of clips before my appearance on Howlers there. I want this guy is one of my favorites now. And you'll see it when I do my rankings. He'll be up there because I feel he's going to be a very like Matty Beniers type player. It's very good two-way, and like you said, all that stuff. So let's do the quick fire here. A name on this forward group that could come out of nowhere and be a factor apart from the superstar names. There's a few other names on this roster. Greg, who do you got as a guy that could fly under the radar, as that has maybe some intangibles that could win a tournament?
I'm going to go with another one of the Chicago Steel guys in Mackie Samoskevich. He's I'm a big fan of his. Another one of these guys coming up for that Steel program, and he's another one of those talented. I don't want to call him a grinder because he's much more than that, but he's just got that energy, that motor. He's gonna fight you in board battles. He's gonna win a lot more than he loses. He's gonna play a solid two-way game. That's the one thing that's like really impressive about this American roster this time out is their two-way ability. They got a lot of guys that could score, but they got a lot of guys that can make sure you don't either up front, and that's going to be huge. And he's going to be leading that charge. I'm more looking forward to see what he does more in the defensive end of the ice than when he has the puck, because that's where he's going to be more valuable, I think, is when we talked about Canada, when they get in that game, somebody's got to slow down, that team, and he'll be that guy as far as the forwards go. But it is a really talented group. You just look at these names listed, and man, it's going to be tough to fill out a lineup card, because who do you put on a fourth line? Who do you put on a third line? Who do you deny minutes to? It's tough. But Samoskevich, he's a guy that I think is going to really make a name for himself this tournament, more so with the play away from the puck than what he has it.
Yeah, I agreed. And I mean, Peter, who you got? Do you have someone that you're watching kind of being an under the radar guy that could potentially do something?
Yeah, and not to show my Leaf bias, but Matthew Knies, and considering the fact that, John Morrissey tweeted out that Logan Cooley was centering a line with Samoskevich and Knies, possibly maybe top 6, but most likely third line kind of forward group going on right there. And that would be a complete balance of smarts, intensity, tenacity, and scoring abilities from all 3 of those players. So the fact that, I talked about Cooley before and Greg with Samoskevich, I think Knies on that line is going to possibly do some damage as well, considering the fact that he has that two-way game as well. He's great on the penalty kill. We've seen him score really great shorthanded goals. He can be a factor on the power play. His work ethic, his intensity, and the way that, he always gives it 110% every shift. I think it's going to go well for him and for the team as well. So I think that him on that third line, it's going to work wonders for Team USA. And they got a really great balance, not just on that line, but throughout the whole entire lineup as well. So I'm going to say Matthew Knies as an underrated aspect. Yeah,
I'm going with Red Savage for me. And, he was great in the under 18s. He wins faceoffs. He's one of the, I've talked about in the past. He's one of those guys that's going to, kill penalties, win draws in the defensive zone, be that all around two-way guy that, he may not score a lot of goals, but he'll win you. He'll be there to, win the key faceoff, kill the key penalty. I mean, you need guys like that in these 1-game tournaments where a power play can win you or lose you a game, or, killing a penalty can win you or lose you a game. Those little things. I think Red Savage is one of those guys, apart from his great name, which we've already kind of detailed that. He's one of those guys that you need on the team to, to win games. And that's why he's on this roster. I think, you need that. So Savage for me. So, yeah, so that, forwards, they're going to be there with defense. I mean, this is where Luke Hughes comes in. Similar to Power, he is going to be the leader on this defense, along with Jake Sanderson. Peter, we'll talk on this one. Do you think there anyone else that could come in and actually usurp Hughes and Sanderson as being the top? But I mean, I probably know the answer to this, but is this Luke Hughes tournament this time around?
Yeah, I think so. But given the fact that Brock Faber was on that team last year with 5 assists in 7 games, I think he's also one of those leaders that is going to be heavily relied on for Team USA. Just a fantastic skater. I mean, great in transition on the rush or even on the back check, can break up plays really well. He's just got excellent smarts. So the fact that they got 3 excellent defenders in Sanderson, in Luke Hughes, and Brock Faber right now, I think you got 3 solid names that can do some damage offensively and Faber's case defensively as well, because he was a major factor for them last year, and I expect him to take another massive jump and be a really key part in maybe a top pairing role this year. Maybe it is going to be him and Sanderson, if I'm not mistaken, or if he's a left-handed shot. So yeah, left-handed shot for Sanderson, Faber right-handed shot. It wouldn't surprise me if that's going to be a really solid dynamic duo for Team USA.
Yeah. Greg, I wanted to go in on this one. It's the guy that was, kind of flew under the radar in the draft. He was drafted a little later as Jack Peart, USHL product as well. Does he have a chance to kind of showcase himself? Because I think he went really low in this past draft, and guys like Jack Peart, another guy like Scott Morrow. I mean, they got some other guys other than Luke Hughes and Sanderson and Faber. Do you think they have a chance of being, maybe an X factor in this tournament as just being solid defenders and kind of contributing that way?
Absolutely. We talked about the guys up top, Sanderson, Hughes, Faber, but it's those bottom pairing guys that could really make a difference. We know what to expect out of those main guys. Peart's one of those guys I marked as a guy to watch out for. He fell down to the late second round to the Minnesota Wild. I mean, they've been cleaning up the last couple of drafts, kind of picking up guys that shouldn't have been there. Yeah, he's had a pretty good season so far with St. Cloud State. He's got 2 goals and 10 points there. He excelled in the USHL. That's what got him drafted in the first place. He's a pretty really good skater. Can play both ways. He's got good vision, pretty good passer. So he's going to make a difference down there. You mentioned Scott Morrow was another guy, and one guy that I think we talk about under the radar, and I may be showing some bias here too, but it is Wyatt Kaiser. I mean, he's a Blackhawks prospect, late round pick. He's a guy who's really just, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but he's really been fun to watch. And he could be a guy that, is probably going to be playing when he's in the lineup. He'll be one of those guys maybe fighting for ice time, but if he's out there, he'll probably be playing on the bottom pairing. But he could be a guy that makes a difference if he's out there against, another team's bottom pair and third or fourth line. He's got speed. He's got, can deal with pressure, all those kinds of, he's an exciting player. He was a 3rd round pick of the Hawks in 2020. And I think they're going to get some great value out of it. So he's a guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing because, of the Blackhawks, obviously. But so, yeah, they've got depth defensively. They got a lot of guys that, may not be 1st round picks. We talked about Canada's defense and all the 1st rounders and future franchise defensemen they have. They don't have as many of those guys, but they've got some tremendous depth as well. And some guys that can take advantage of, hey, we're not playing against teams' top defensive lines. We can maybe make a difference here. So, US is going to need to find a balance to their attack, and they've got some bottom pairing defensemen that could certainly help out with that.
Yeah, the defense is, I think they got it. Personally, I think they got a very underrated defense past Hughes and those guys we mentioned. They're gonna have to be to contend as well. So, but they're all of them great mobility. That two-way, they're all great two-way defensemen as well. So don't sleep on this defense. They're, like you said, there's a lot of names on here that may not be huge, well-known 1st-round picks, but they're going to make a difference, I think, on the back end.
And they have right-handed shots too.
That's true. That's true. That's a big thing.
You can't say about Canada.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. That still blows my mind, but okay.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, right? I mean, they actually got the right-hand shots. Let's go to the final piece of this puzzle, goaltending. Peter, we'll go to you on this. Drew Commesso. Is he the number one here? I mean, you got Caden Mbereko, Dylan Silverstein. They're both behind him. Do you think they got any chance of kind of pushing him out of the starting role? Is he the guy? This is a Chicago Blackhawks pick as well. Do you think he's going to be the Spencer Knight of this team?
He's definitely going to be the starter. Whether he's going to be the Spencer Knight, going to be really tough to follow up his performance last year, especially after a rough start and then him bouncing back as he did and have the performance that he did since then throughout the tournament. I think that was really great for him, but he's going to be in tough considering the fact that, I think the goaltending is going to be weak for Team USA. Given the fact that you look at Canada, you look at Sweden, you look at Russia, they have not just because they're 1st-round picks, but more potential to be a major factor for their team going forward. Comesso's numbers in college are kind of average, 900 save percentage, 282 goals against average, and 6-7-3 record with Boston University right now. The good thing is he's got a good team in front of him. He's got great forwards to come back and help out on the back check, great defense as well. But if there is a situation where Commesso does kind of falter and you have to rely on Mbereko and Silverstein, and Silverstein's a 17-year-old, that's a lot of pressure for those two guys coming in. And I do think that it is going to be an X factor for them because they don't have no Knight, they don't have no Wolf compared to last year. So it's going to be a really big question mark for them. And the hope is that they could get some solid performances in goaltending out of him. But compared to other teams, it's going to be difficult. Yeah,
Greg, maybe a chance to have a rebuttal. Do Do you agree with that? Do you think, I mean, you follow Commesso, Chicago Blackhawks prospect. Do you think he's kind of in tough here, or does he have a chance to be, kind of rise above it all and become a star for this team?
Well, I think Peter kind of hinted at it. I think he can put up really good numbers, but it's going to depend on what the guys in front of him do. And we just talked about they've got a very deep defensive core, and they've got a lot of really good two-way forwards, and then that's by design. If you nobody's going to do what Spencer Knight did last season. Team USA doesn't have that guy this year, and they knew that. So that if they figured out that, hey, we're going to be taking a step down goaltending wise, so we got to amp up our defensive play, as a 5-player unit, not just you defensemen. So they've got some really good defensive forwards. They've got some really good defensemen. That's going to be what makes or breaks Comesso's tournament. If the team in front of him makes life easy for him and doesn't, give up a lot of prime scoring chances, then he can put up some pretty good numbers. But I think Peter was pretty spot on there. His numbers at Boston University, they don't grab your attention by any means. But he's going to have a better team in front of him, obviously, playing here. So that's going to be his key. If his teammates make his life a lot easier and he could just make the saves you're supposed to make, then I think he'll have a pretty good tournament. But I think if anybody is hoping he can do what Spencer Knight did last year, that's just asking way too much. I don't think many goalies can do what happened there.
Yeah, he was really special for that team, and I think that whole U.S. team was like team of destiny last year. I think, and they were going to win the gold. I mean, there's so much going for them there. So, those are the two big powers, Canada, U.S. I mean, we'll see if they're going to be in the gold medal game, unless another team like Sweden or Finland or Slovakia, maybe. But let's do some predictions to close out the show, this last show of the year. Let's do some predictions on who will be walking away with this gold medal, silver and bronze. Well, let's start with the bronze medal game here. Who's going to be in it? Who's going to win it? Peter, let's go to you first.
This is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. I think it's going to be Finland and Russia. And I still think Finland is going to come out on top and beat Russia for the bronze medal.
Yeah, that's a solid prediction. Greg, what do you think?
I will have. I also have Russia in the bronze medal game, and I have them taking on Team USA. I don't think repeating as gold medalists is so hard, and we've talked about the players they're missing. But I still think a guy like Matty Beniers is going to will his way to a bronze medal. I've got USA over Russia in that bronze medal game.
All right, so we got the bronze medal game. Let's go to the big matchup. Peter, gold medal game. Who do you got in that gold medal game, and who is going to win it all?
I'm thinking it's going to be a Canada-Sweden matchup. I think it's going to be balance attack, balance defense, balance goaltending. I think both teams have the capabilities to reach that mark, and I think I'm going to give the edge to Canada. I mean, on paper, they as much as we complained about the roster and the decision makings about Offman, about Brent Clark, this is still a really solid team, and I still think that even with that defense, I think that this is going to pull through for them, and with the amount of firepower they have up front, I think it's going to be a reason why Canada bounces back and avenge last year's perfect ending or non-perfect ending to the tournament and possibly go 7-0 in this tournament.
Yeah. So US isn't in the gold medal game, Greg. Who do you got in the gold medal game, and who's going to win it?
I too have Sweden, Canada in that gold medal game. Unfortunately, I'm going with Sweden. I think they end their drought. It's been 10 years. 2012 was the last time they won World Junior Gold. I just think they're super talented. We talked about them in the last episode. Eklund, Holtz, Edvinsson, the list goes on and on. And I think that gold medal game is going to be fun to watch because potentially you've got the top two goalies from the last year's draft, the first round picks, Cossa versus Wallstedt. And I think Wallstedt maybe has a little chip on his shoulder saying, hey, I should have been the first goalie taken. And I just think Sweden is just super talented. I think it's their time. We talked about how they were disappointing last year and they've been disappointing the last few years. They just got too much talent. I think this is the year they put it all together and they bring home the gold. One way or the other, regardless, if we're both correct and it's Sweden, Canada for a gold, that is going to be I'll make an extra batch of popcorn for that game because that's going to be a good one.
That's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't give my bronze medal. I'll give both right now. I'm going with in the bronze medal game, I'm going Finland, US. Because Finland always seems to surprise me in these tournaments because they're just so solid as an all-around team. I think, they just kind of seem to come out of nowhere. Their goaltending may leave them, bit, but I think Russia's going to really miss those guys that they left in, being left at home, being left in North America where they actually are. I think they're going to miss them. And I think that's going to really hit them hard and leave them out of that any medal game. So I'm going with that Finland US matchup, and US is going to win that bronze. I think they're a better team overall to win that matchup. And I'm going Canada, Sweden in the gold medal game as well, because they're just two of the stronger teams. I mean, I say Canada, US, could be too, but I think Sweden's just, adding Holtz and Eklund, it's just, they're already strong. They got so much firepower up front. Their defense is anchored well by Edvinsson and some other great names there. And Wallsted's just going to be lights out, I think. And it's going to be a heck of a goaltending match of Wallsted versus Cossa and that Canada game. Oh my gosh. Two of the top picks that were in this past draft, and heck of a game. And I think Canada's going to squeak this one out. I think Canada's going to have the gold medal there, but in overtime, I think it's going to be a tight game, and overtime is going to have to be needed, I think, for this one. But yeah, we'll see how many of those predictions come true. We always seem to get surprised sometimes with these. Sometimes not the gold medal stuff, but bronze. Some interesting teams sometimes get there, right? So
we all picked Sweden, Canada for the gold medal game, so I'm looking forward to that Slovakia, Russia gold medal game. Now that we've all picked it to go this way.
Yeah, we're a consensus there, so it won't happen now. But yeah, hopefully no COVID stuff kind of throws stuff out of whack, because we know the stuff that's been going on in the NHL here lately and overall in the world. And this is something that's been 2 years now, and it's unfortunate it's still going on. But hopefully this tournament gets people out of that kind of disappointing type mindset and just watch some great hockey, because a lot of this is, and everyone stays safe and wear a mask. But just wear a mask, get vaccinated. It's something, just get it done so we can actually just enjoy hockey, enjoy life in general, because this has gone on way too long. So any other closing thoughts before we wrap up this episode, guys?
Just hope everyone has a safe and happy holiday season. Like you said, Matt, a lot has been going on. Let's try and focus on the positives going from here on out, and let's hope that we can come out on top. So wishing everyone that tunes in all the best. And to you, Matt and Greg, all your families, hope you all have a wonderful holidays as well. And stay safe, and see you in 2022. Sorry.
2022. It feels like we're still
that long pause. It feels like it. Yeah. Let's go back to March 2022 or 2020 before everything happened. Time machine time. So
yeah. Yeah. Greg, any closing thoughts? Or
I'll just echo that too. Just hope everybody has a great holiday season. Stay safe, stay healthy. We're looking forward to getting back here in 2022 and starting our draft coverage, and just a quick thank you to everybody who tunes in, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast provider. You guys are the reasons we get together and talk every weekend about prospects. So if you guys weren't tuning in, we wouldn't be able to do this. So a big thank you and some holiday cheer for all of you guys who tune in every week. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We love talking prospects, but we also love you guys watching. So like Greg said, we wouldn't be doing this unless people are watching. And thank you so much for all the views that we've gotten on our last preview, or the first preview episode. We're over 1,000 views. So thank you so much. for tuning in and watching those stuff. And for the last 2 episodes, it's been great covering the World Juniors here. Like Greg said, we'll be getting to the draft coverage, which is going to be a ton of stuff we'll be talking about. There's going to be just nonstop. We'll be getting guests on here for the, we did have guests on earlier, but we'll have a lot of guests on that are draft, experts outside of the Hockey Writers and inside here too. So look out for that. And yeah, I echo that. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone, and a Happy New Year. Hopefully the next year is a lot nicer in a lot of this stuff, because like I said, it's gone on way too long. And so thanks everyone. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe and like button, sharing this with everyone that loves prospects. Hit up the Morning Skate newsletter. We have that at morningskate.io. Lots of coverage at the hockeywriters.com. So that's basically it for last episode of 2021, and we'll see you in 2022, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and thank you very much.